Hello everybody, welcome to Farscape Rewatch, episode 17. I'm CantWearHats, and joining me as always is Rednightmare.
Swear it wasn't me.
What? What did
I didn't
you
do anything.
What did you do?
Nothing.
It's all fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. You're fine. You're fine. Anyway, this is episode 17, Through the Looking Glass. And we've just had a human reaction with Crichton going sort of, but not really, back to Earth through a wormhole.
It was all a dream.
Space alien wizards did it. Something like that.
No, Mulder wasn't involved.
Yeah, alright, fair enough. But yeah, this episode is something of a bottle episode. We'll get into it. But yeah, we've now met Chiana, and
she actually gets to do something in this episode,
Yep.
as opposed to human reaction.
she's sort of like first seen and then goodbye, not seen again. So yeah, I get quite a lot of interaction in this episode. So why don't we get down to it?
Yes.
Yeah, so we start off with everyone sitting around the table, having some food.
They're basically having rainbow food.
Yeah, they're...
Every color I could find in there.
It's sort of like the... Oh, this is a bit of a deep cut, but have you seen Hook?
Yes.
There's the scene where they have like the imaginary food, and they're...
I can't remember that one specifically.
Okay, well they're like pretending that there's food there, and then Robin Williams' Peter Pan sort of like believes, and then it's all rainbow coloured food. That's what it reminded me of. It's like miscellaneous pile of blue thing
Goop.
next to green squares, and
Yeah.
it's not food cubes though.
Yeah,
And,
it's better than food cubes, that's true.
well, give or take. It's a lot of stuff that they all made themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it is better than others. And they're sort of bickering a bit.
Yeah, because they're like, look, Dargo and Zan are considering leaving Moya at the next stop because this whole pregnancy thing is basically putting them at risk because Moya can't really starburst that well because of the kid.
Yeah, and in fact it says, can't starburst at all, so, we're going to get captured if we stick around on Moya. So our best bet is to sort of leave, which is what, like you said, what Dargo and Zan want to do. But,
and Rigel, obviously.
And Rigel, yeah, of course. But Aaron doesn't want to abandon Moya, and neither does Crichton, actually.
Nope. Chiana gets no say in this.
Yeah, she actually says, don't I get to say anything? And multiple times, just, no, you don't. It's just like, oh, well, never mind. And what's actually funny, though, is that as they're arguing, like, Pilot then suddenly comes over the comms. And
Yeah.
It's like, we heard you talking. Because here's the thing, like, this is what Chiana was trying to tell them, is that the DRDs are around and they have ears.
Yeah, like, there's a DRD on the shelf right there, specifically sitting there to listen to us.
It's like, you can't talk behind a Leviathan's back, really.
No, you can't.
But actually, this is kind of... Pilot and Moya feel really bad that they can't starburst, and they actually want to help people. They want
At
to
least not regularly starburst.
Yeah, but he feels kind of hurt that they weren't included in the discussion. Like, they were kind of... they've got a say in this too, being sentient living beings.
Yes.
And they kind of were talking without them, which is a little bit rude. And he says, right, well, we'll prove to you. Moya wants to prove to you that she is capable, and because she doesn't want to lose her crew.
No, she's committed.
Yeah.
That's it.
And so she'd prepare for immediate starburst.
Like,
But
she could do that for another 50 hours.
15.
No. This will be fine. This will
It's
be
fine.
fine.
Let's just go. We'll go. See, don't worry about it. Everything will be fine.
Everything is not fine.
No, everything's not fine. They launch into starburst and just get thrown around inside the mess hall, and something is gone horribly wrong. And that's when we cut to titles. That's our hook. Something's up with starburst.
Oops.
Yeah. And that's going to be interesting, because we've not really had much exploration of how Starburst works or what it is. It's just like...
It's been a plot device thus far.
Yeah. So we come back from the titles, and everyone is sort of picking themselves up, and Aaron reckons they must have hit something.
Rigel's gone.
Yeah. Zan's arm is damaged. She says the fibers are torn.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bright white light shining in from outside the ship. And so, what the hell's going on? And Dargo is going to go to command. So he walks out of the doorway and then just whoop, gets absorbed by some red light.
Yeah, he's like there's red light, and then he gets sucked into one point around his chest. So, and he's gone. and I like that Zan at this point said, "People can't just disappear like that." And I'm like, well, were you looking?
I was like,
apparently they can.
Yeah, apparently so. So that's not good. And then Erin goes out as well, and then she disappears too in a blue light this time. So Crichton manages to make it out without being sucked into some weird
I like
point
Zan
of light.
asking, like, "What's happening, John? Really?"
And he's like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the same shit you are. But he does manage to make it to command, and Pilot says most systems are out. Moya is frightened, in great pain. But he sees that Rigel is in Tier 8, Erin is in the maintenance bay, and he can't find Dargo.
Yeah.
Which is weird because we just saw them disappear.
So, but apparently they got shifted to another part of the ship.
Yeah, we'll see. But Chiana wants off. She wants off the ship.
Yep. She's like, no, I'm done. I'm off. I'll take the shuttle pod. I'm going away. I don't care.
And Crichton's like, well, not without everyone else.
Yeah, that's one.
Also, most systems are out, so we can't open the doors, so you can just fly the transport pod around the hangar bay. So good luck with that.
Yeah. And John's like, okay, I'll go to Pilot, keep him company. And John's like, okay, Rigel's at Tier 8, Erin's in the maintenance bay. Chiana, you go to Tier 8. She's like, to Frel, I'm not.
It's like, listen, we've got to get everyone back together. We've got to figure this out, and you can't leave. So,
She's like, I only want to be a part of your crew on a good day.
It's like, this is a good day. We've seen some bad days, and and John's pretty much right so
to
far.
Be honest, I do like this talk because it's like, okay, look, Chiana, you want to be part of this crew? Start acting like it.
Yeah, listen, we have to deal with weird stuff all the time. Get used to this. So she goes off to find Rigel, mainly because she can't actually leave.
Yeah. And John goes to the maintenance bay to find Erin.
But Erin's not there, even though Pilot says, well, she was in the maintenance bay. And Erin...
You can't find her.
No, and then he's looking around and a table starts vibrating with tools on it, just shaking. And then... whoop, Crichton gets sucked into the red light.
Yeah. And he comes out in Vomit Town.
Oh, yeah. He comes out in red Moya. It's Moya, but like there's a red filter over everything. There's a red light, and the effect that this place has is that there's like a double exposure of him walking around like out of sync. So
yeah, two things. One, apparently it's also doing something to his eyes because the light here is very disturbing to his eyes.
Yeah,
even with his eyes closed.
And basically the first thing he does is throw up when he gets there. It's like,
but it's double exposure and out of sync, and the first thing I thought of was the Back and Back and Back to the Future episode, where this also happened, but it's not that. Also, this is very uncomfortable to watch at. Like, I felt legitimately sick in my stomach while watching this.
Very disorienting and just weird, and
it's not that great. I know what effect they were trying to do, but if I wasn't obligated to finish the episode, I would turn it off.
It didn't bother me that much. I'm glad that it does actually get better over time as we see more of it, which is good. But yeah, this first scene is very kind of a little bit nausea-inducing, and if that kind of thing affects you, if you're more susceptible to that kind of thing, then yeah, I can see it being very, having the same reaction that John did.
Luckily, I had already eaten at that point, but otherwise...
So he's looking around here, throwing up, trying to make it to a different part of the ship. And he gets to Pilot's den eventually, but the Pilot's not there, and the controls are moving, but no one seems to be pushing them. Mm-hmm. And I remember from the synopsis we gave last week, it's like different dimensions, and it's like, okay, I think I see what's going on here. Like Moya's been... There's like another dimension, and certain things are happening in one, and affecting
the other.
Yeah, and so he does actually manage to find Dargo. Sort of. He
Dargo sees him
Yeah.
pass, but is unable to yell out to Crichton, "Look, I'm over here."
I thought it was a bit odd that like Crichton couldn't see him because he was just like right there, right?
I think at this point he had already
that's
put
true.
a blindfold over his eyes just to block out the light.
Yeah, which is the smart thing to do. So good job. Also, of note is that when he got sucked into the red Moya, there was a certain sound, like a sort of scratching,
Beeping, yeah,
noise.
It's high pitched.
Yeah, and so Crichton hears that sound again, and it's coming from above the table in command.
Yes.
And so he climbs up there, sort of hoists himself into the rafters, and then whoop, gets sucked into Blue Moya.
Yes. And now he's in a blue area, and okay, the eyes can handle this one. It's just the noise. I call this place Mute Town because I turn down the volume every time they're here.
It was just like loud, like my notes say, Blue Moya, loud noises.
Pretty much.
It's just there's a very loud ringing noise constantly permeating this entire area of the ship, or this entire version of Moya. So he can't hear anything he's saying, but he does manage to find Aaron, and
who also can't hear anything
no,
he's saying.
They can't hear each other, and actually this bit is actually quite funny.
I love this bit.
They start resorting to charades. To just be Aaron is trying to say, "Where's Dargo?" So she pantomimes like a large sword chopping. He's like, "Oh, got it, Dargo."
I know, he doesn't get it at that point, and then she basically does his tentacles. It's like, "Oh, Dargo, haven't seen him. Have you seen Rigel?" And he just like he's holding a large ball, like floating in front of his head, and then just
frumps. It like does like a frowning face. Is just like, which is just I'm starting to laugh at that bit.
I like even Aaron is laughing at this point. It's like,
this is silly.
At this point, they decide like, okay, the noise is still incredibly annoying. So they're like, okay, fine. In that case, we'll just start looking for Rigel and Dargo. And so they start walking around, but John actually brings Aaron to command because he knows where the portal is. So he's just, okay, let's go through here. He jumps up. Nothing happens.
Yeah, it looks like it only works one way. So if they want to get back to different Moya, they have to find another way through.
Yes. Which, as they're looking for Dargo and Rigel in this on this version of the ship, they actually do. John finds a portal near his tape recorder. He tries to grab it and suddenly gets slowly sucked in. Again, that noise, by the way.
Yeah, same noise. But not before. They're walking along the corridor and there are some like scratches of yellow light in midair.
Yeah, you're right. Like claw marks.
Yes.
In midair. You're right. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, so not only is Moya split into different dimensional versions, but there seems to be something else out there, possibly attacking them, possibly stalking them. Yeah, but yes, like you said, Crichton finds his tape recorder in Rigel's quarters. Rigel,
obviously,
and then
minor detail.
He sort of goes to grab it, and then his hand starts going through.
And he tries to pull it out with his other arm, which also gets sucked in.
It's just like, and now he's in Yellow Moya, which
I love Yellow Moya. I'm sorry.
Yellow Moya is just
Yellow Moya is actually fun.
This is really good because so Crichton does manage to find Rigel, and Rigel is just laughing at everything.
Yeah, and I like that John comes in here and he's like, okay, no annoying light, no annoying sound. This is improvement. We're doing better. And he actually, because he was in Rigel's quarters in the blue one, he comes out in the yellow one also in Rigel's quarters.
Yeah.
And Rigel is, as you said, laughing his ass off.
Yeah, he says, and Crichton is explaining what happens, and then he starts cracking up as well.
Yeah, they talk like, look, there's apparently different versions of Moya. Could you stop laughing? And as they get talking, John is also slightly cracking up at jokes
Rigel is making, yeah.
And he's like, at some point, John's like, you don't tell jokes, and I don't laugh at them. This is true.
Oh, it's so, like, it is that sort of infectious laughter that does start to get to you as well. It's
you can't stop.
Yeah.
Especially because Rigel's like, I don't laugh at jokes. Yeah, and Rigel's like, yes, I don't tell jokes. It's like so stupid.
It is, and I think the best part is when John is like, okay, no, we have to, and he's trying to like stop himself from laughing. He's just like, nope, it's not funny. Nope. Not funny, no.
The best one I feel is that at some point, look, I need to get out of here before I end up like you. What? Handsome and with sensual prowess?
Oh god, it's
that
so
one
good.
was legit funny.
Yeah. And so, like, okay, you gotta listen out for the noise, and he's trying to tell Rigel what to look for, but Rigel just will not take him seriously. It's like, no, okay.
John's like, fine.
I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
And so he hears another noise, and it's down the access chute that we've seen a couple of times now.
Yes. So
and
he goes, but down the fun slide.
Happy fun slide, whee!
He comes out laughing on the other end.
And then just suddenly, like, back to normal, because now he's back on normal Moya, which is fine. There is nothing
weird going on here.
Yeah, they're back up in command, and Chiana and Zan are kind of annoyed at Pilot, say, right, that's more false information you've given us. We checked where you told us to, where the others are located, and they're not there.
No,
and
there's no one.
And he says, but this is what Moya is telling me. And then Crichton arrives and is like, okay, here's the deal. Here's what's going on. There are at least 3 other Moyas. There's the, red Moya, which is vomit-inducing, blue Moya, which is very loud, and yellow Moya, which is just funny.
Kind of funny.
Yeah. And he says, have you heard of anything similar to this happening before?
Yeah, like, do you have any idea about objects existing at the same place at the same time? Multiple dimensions.
Yeah, he does explicitly call out, like, parallel dimensions and stuff like that. Well, and now we actually get from Pilot a bit of explanation of what exactly Starburst is and how it works. And he says Starburst is the seam between space-time dimensions. Moya rides that seam and is pushed out at a random location.
Yes.
Which doesn't... the random part doesn't sit well with Chiana.
No.
She's like, wait, what? I'm sorry, what? Random?
Random?
This wasn't... I didn't know this was part of the deal. It's like, okay, we'll worry about that later.
Yeah, you can get off next time you want. Go ahead. I also like that Pilot is talking about things being like, well, that in that spectrum, things get split up in their main elements, light, sound. And at that point, I'm like, okay, light, sound, I get. What the hell is the yellow dimension? Funny is it just elements?
It's the element of surprise. I don't know.
Like, light, sound, funny, tacos. I mean, what? Is there a taco dimension out there somewhere?
Everything changed when the Funny Nation attacked. Yeah, that's a little bit weird, but whatever, One of this episode's strengths, I think, is that it doesn't focus too heavily on, like, the techno-babble aspect of what all the dimensions are. It's like, okay, they're split into these versions. Because that's not really how Farscape works. It doesn't go big on the, we have to rotate these dimensional and the, really try and explain stuff. It does a little bit so that you have some idea of, how things are, quote, supposed to work, internal consistency and everything. But it's just like, okay, it's been split off into these 3 versions. There you go.
Yeah. It's just, I find it funny that funny is apparently a base element.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of goof, please put those goofs in your episodes, because that's just fun.
But yeah, it turns out what actually happened was that, Moya entered Starburst too early and without adequate thrust.
Yeah, so she got into it, but she wasn't going fast enough to be thrown out at a other end. She's stuck in Starburst.
Yeah. So that's what's happening, and with whatever is on the other side of Starburst.
Yes, and I like that John's actually pissed off about this. Like, you could have told us right away, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's like, why didn't you let us know? And it's like,
we're sorry, we felt inadequate and we didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no, okay. Let's just try and get out of here. And then Crichton explains that something else is going on. There's, you've got the creature with the claw marks in midair that appear to be chasing them. So everyone else, go get the guns. I'm going to go work with Pilot and figure this out.
And at this point, actually, we see a beautiful CG shot of 3 Moyas being...
Overlaid.
I mean, they still meet at the end, but their fronts are going 3 different directions. A yellow one going up, a red one going slightly forward, and a blue one going down. Just being torn apart.
It is a very nice CG shot. A little bit abstract, but it definitely works.
It works very well.
Yeah, and so the next scene we see is... okay. I'm gonna probably gush a bit about some stuff in this scene.
Go ahead. This
is Pilot and Crichton in Pilot's den, and a lot of the time when we see Pilot, it's a cutaway to Pilot just by himself, either on like the communication clamshell thing in the hologram, or just by himself in his quarters. And then this scene, we have John in there with him, and so you get reminded of the scale of Pilot, and Pilot is massive.
He is. He's huge.
And so what he's actually doing is explaining to Crichton, how to reverse the thrusters so that they can try and get out.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually Crichton is kind of comforting Pilot and saying, you didn't have to starburst. And it's like Pilot says, it's no time for recriminations.
And John's like, no.
We should have told you. John says, we should have been upfront about our feelings. We shouldn't have tried to hide them from you or talk behind your back.
That wasn't me trying to put blame on you. That's what he said.
And Moira is still very scared. Pilot tells him, and he actually kind of, sort of hugs him a little bit. And okay, I know this is like I've said this many, many times, but we've said how good the Jim Henson Creature Shop is at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And regular listeners will know that I am a massive fan of Pilot's puppet and design, and they do such a good job making him feel like a real character that, like, at points in this scene, you, like, forget that he's being puppeted by, like, 4 or 5 different people.
I was not thinking about that at all.
It's just, like, you believe him. His expression, he's got such a great, like, range of expressions, and looks genuinely sad and hurt, and, it's so good!
And you can notice that it makes it, as far as I can tell, easier for the actors to act against... As long as there's somebody probably off-screen doing the lines of Pilot, it's pretty easy because the physicality of the puppet is enough to be another actor to act against.
Absolutely, and the entire crew of Pilot's puppeteers do an amazing, amazing job to make him look like a real character, and this scene really shows that off. Like, when you get him to act with another person, with John there, like, it just it works really well. So the thing, like you said, it must be great for the actors, because so the reason that practical effects aren't used all the time, or certainly not now when CG is so prevalent and much better than it used to be, CG is actually cheaper.
Often it is, yes. And it looks better, especially.
Not necessarily, not always. I don't think a CG character in place of Pilot, even like the kind of CG you can do now, would have been better. The thing is, like, for me, a lot of the time, like, good practical effects work a lot better for me. But I understand that, like, they are super expensive and a real hassle to do. So that's why, like, you get a lot of CG characters these days, because, like, okay, tennis ball on a stick, or, like, somebody wearing a thing. It's like, right, we'll add that in later. That's actually cheaper. We'll just get a bunch of guys who are underpaid and don't, have a lot of support and unionization to render that onto some computers later. But, like, yeah.
I mean, and I'm reminded of, I think was it E. McKellen?
Yeah, in The Hobbit.
Who had to act towards a tennis ball suspended in midair.
Sort of. It was worse than that, right? So we're getting off topic here, but whatever. This
episode isn't that long. We can do this.
We can do this, yeah. Like, so in filming The Hobbit, there was a scene where they have to have Ian McKellen look big and all the hobbits look small, and he was on a green screen set. Everything was green screened, and there were little sticks with like circles on the end of them with a photo of the character it was supposed to be, and that would light up when that character was supposed to be talking or that he was supposed to be looking at. And after it had been a long day of filming, and he kind of broke down and said, "This isn't why I became an actor."
Yeah, I'm like, there isn't even somebody. The actors aren't even off screen to do the lines with you.
Yeah, and
Like that's incredible. I've done acting myself, and what I found, especially in big theater play I was doing, it was actually Mort. Guess who I played? Red hair. But I found that the scenes with the better actors, I was also acting better.
yeah, exactly. You get like you play off each other.
Yeah.
And although, like in the example I gave, the reason it was like that in the Lord of the Rings, that was all practical in-camera stuff with like foreshortening effects, and they were on the same set, but they used like tricks of the camera. Basically, like they would be further away, but they would have larger props, and it would they were still there.
Well, at worst, they were off camera doing the lines at least, so they had someone to act towards.
The reason it was CG'd in The Hobbit was because The Hobbit was filmed in 3D. And those kind of in-camera tricks don't work with the way 3D is filmed.
Oh, right.
So, yeah. But yeah, like, I don't want to knock 3D at all. Like, 3D can be really good when it's done well, but
it rarely is done well.
Yeah, but on the other hand, practical effects are super expensive. Especially like something like Pilot, but like the end result is, I think for me it's a lot better.
It works a lot better for a series where you expect to be using it for a long time, because it's a one-time investment plus maintenance.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, like, listen, I really fucking love Pilot, okay? and
Fair enough.
And he's so believable as a character because of the amazing puppet work, and every time they get into a scene where it's like where Pilot has to be emotional and show emotion, I've not been let down yet. So
no, same with Rigel and me.
Yeah. So
God, I love Rigel's face.
So good job. Like the reason it's impressive to me is partly because Pilot is so big, and they're still able to get like that range of emotion onto him. And I believe that this weird crab-looking creature Pilot thing is real. I believe.
Anyway, back to
what we were talking about. Sorry, like I said, like I knew I was gonna go off at that point and just talk about that again. So anyway, back to like you said, back to what's happening. Pilot has explained to Crichton, okay, you have to reverse the thrusters, so you have to go and tell everyone in every version of Moya to reverse the thrusters at the same time.
Yes.
And that should provide enough power to get out again. And so Crichton goes to tell Zan and Chiana what the plan is, and then the creature rips through again, so they shoot at it.
And it's actually trying to come through you can see its claws.
Yeah, trying to sort of poke through, like there's big glowing light and that's sort of forming a hole, and the claws are trying to come through. But they shoot it and it goes away. And so Crichton says, okay, Zan, you stay with Pilot. Me and Chiana, we're going to go to the Red Moya.
And Chiana's like, excuse me?
It's like, no, come on. You're part of the crew now.
Time there in your keep. As he basically shoves her through the portal.
Yep.
Like, and then goes after.
And the funny thing here is that, I mean, John's still nauseous by this, but Chiana's fine. She's actually okay.
She's like, didn't you say this light made you nauseous? He's like, yes, very much. Huh. Doesn't for me. Lucky.
And I think this is the point at which the double exposure effect kind of goes away.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah. So yeah, that's not happening anymore in the Red Moya, which is good for us watching because it's so much less disorienting.
I could put the bucket away at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And so they managed to find Dargo, and he's wearing like a mask. We've seen him wear like his visor mask before when he went down to the planet Until the Blood Runs Clear, because it was very bright. And Crichton's like, how's that? Is that helping? Like, not really.
He's like, yes, I only barf once in a while.
And so Dargo is asking, what's going on? What the hell is happening? In fact, actually, no, he uses a fake swear. He says, what the Hezmana is going on? Or something like that. And it's like, oh, that's a new one, I think. But
I think it's been used before, but I don't know.
I don't recall. And so Crichton explains this like, never heard of that before. But Chiana says she has heard of something like this happening before. And
actually, before we go on with this, John at some point is like, look, I haven't heard about that at all. I don't know anything about anything. My species doesn't even go to the moon anymore. I'm like, ow. Ow, that hurt, John. That hurt.
Oh, it's funny because it's true.
But yeah, then Chiana actually reveals that she knows a thing or two about this.
Well, yeah, because it turns out that her people's weapons scientists, once they poked a hole through to another dimension. Because, like, we've established that the Nabari have ridiculously powerful spaceships in the previous episode in Durka Returns, because they said, we blew up a command carrier with just, like, a regular ship.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, apparently the Nabari poked a hole into another dimension.
They couldn't close it.
They lost control and wiped out an entire solar system. So,
yeah, basically ended up in tiny, tiny chunks.
Yeah, which included 4 inhabited planets, so good job. Well done.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah, so Crichton then explains to Dargo that we have to get there. You have to, put the engines in reverse. Here's the long sequence of commands you have to put in. And you have to do it all at the same time.
And it's like half an Arn, I think.
Yeah, and so, right, this is what you do. You stay in pilot's den. I'll go and, get everyone else ready to go.
And I like at this point that they're like, wait a second. Chiana, you're not affected by this light, right? And she's like, no. But no. Yeah, but no, I'm not staying here on my own and doing this. For you two.
I mean,
and Dargo decides to just... John's like, okay, I'll stay here. You guys go get Aaron. And Dargo's like, no. You can barely stand in this. I'll do this. I've been here longer, fair, but...
Yeah.
I'm holding my own on this.
I did think it was a bit weird of Chiana to just be like, "Oh no, I'm not staying here by myself." But you're fine. You're fine. Oh, fine. Okay. Okay.
Fine. I mean, she gets punished for it pretty quickly.
Yeah, because after the creature turns up again, which shoot at it, runs away. Crichton and Chiana go into the Blue Moya, and
actually, I forgot. Before they leave, John's wobbling out of command. He's like. And Dargo's like, no, not in here. Puke outside, not in here. It's like, oh my god, yeah.
He actually throws up over the side of the walkway.
Yeah, and Dargo's like,
oh, dude, come on, that's
I
nasty.
Need to stay here.
Yeah, and so then Crichton and Chiana hop into Blue Moya, and Chiana just starts screaming because the noise is really bad for her.
It's excruciating for her. And what I really like is as John gets up, the lighting on Chiana actually seems distorted.
Yeah.
Specifically Chiana, not John. It's like it's almost like this sound is tearing her apart.
Yeah, there's this weird kind of this I don't know what you would call it, but almost like there are extra reflections and light moving over her, and it's so she's kind of useless in this version of Moya. So he picks her up, puts her on his shoulders, and carries her, and then takes her to the point where they went through to the Yellow Moya in Rigel's quarters. And I like how he does this. He basically kind of props her up, and then just falls over.
She falls through the water, like whoop, to the next one.
Oh yeah, and so then the creature turns up again. But this time, Crichton just looks at the scratch marks that it leaves.
It's like, there's something here. And for some reason, he doesn't want to attack it. And then Aaron just shoots it from behind him.
Yeah, because Crichton thinks that something else must be going on here with the creature.
There's something off with the creature.
Yeah, but
That's it.
But yeah, Aaron has turned up, and she's actually modified a pair of headsets so they can now talk.
Yeah, it negates the noise, though you can hear it in the distance, and it also allows them to talk to each other.
Yeah, and actually, I like this, that Crichton's impressed. It's like, hey, not bad for the girl who doesn't like to do homework.
Yeah, I mean, he's really actually impressed with what she's done here. Aaron's like, I just modified a basic headset. It's military gear, so it doesn't even count, really.
So yeah, he tells Aaron what the plan is, and she's like, okay, no, I know what to do, I've got it, and...
John's like, no. Oh, Pilot was very specific about this. What needs to be done. Very specific. And Aaron's like, I have some of his DNA in me. And no, very specific. And she starts reciting the sequence completely from memory. It's like,
all right, got it. All right,
I'm sorry, it's going to be hard to doubt you in the future, he says. And I like that as Aaron walks away, it's like, well, I can't help my strengths.
Well, yeah, I think she says, I apologize. Well, I apologize for my strengths.
Yeah.
Off she goes. And so, but then Crichton notices again more scratch marks on the wall from the creature.
Mm-hmm.
And so now Crichton hops through to Yellow Moya. But now there's white light cutting off corridors.
Yeah, there's parts of the ship that are apparently being swallowed up by the other dimension already, slowly.
Yeah, so they've got to get out of there pretty quick, otherwise they'll all be absorbed. And so he heads to Pilot's Den in Yellow Moya, and Chiana and Rigel are just laughing, joking together.
They're just doing stupid shit. She's balancing on the front of the console, walking over it, and Rigel's like, no, be careful, otherwise you die! Which, really, she was in no danger there, but...
And so now, this is probably the most difficult one of now Crichton has to explain how to do this to two people who are laughing their ass off. And Crichton is starting to get affected as well.
I mean, Crichton is mostly just putting in all the sequences, and he's like, okay, Gianna, if it stops, you need to reevaluate the green wobble. I need to ignore the green bobble. And I'm like, no.
No, it's like, restore the green knob. It's like, okay, eat the green slop.
It's like, no, God.
It's like,
look, if you do this, I'll take you down on the next planet with a shuttle. Promise. And I like that, as he says promise, he just has his fingers crossed right in her face.
It's like, they don't know what that means.
No, they don't know. He doesn't have to hide that. And as he leaves, Rigel starts singing.
Oh, yes, he actually is like... Because he says, reverse. Dominars don't travel in reverse.
And Joss will turn around, pretend it's forward.
They both crack up at that.
Oh, there is no expanse of the mind the will cannot traverse, or physically the distance laid across the universe. There's blessings many in the stars, save one lamented curse, that 16th Rigel, glory me, must travel in reverse. There's a little dance that goes with that, but I can't do them both at the same time.
That song is brilliant. It's so fucking stupid.
It's so silly. Yellow Moya.
Yellow Moya is best Moya.
Alright, so now Crichton makes his way back to regular Moya, and Pilot reports, okay, there's full reverse power, but we're still being drawn in. So it's not working. So he goes with Zan to command, and so they're like, what the hell? What's going on? What do we do? And Crichton looks around. There are a lot more scratch marks now from the creature on the wall.
And at this point, also, Pilot points out, there is something we can do. It's a long shot, but it's something we can do. And they're like, okay, what is it? Moya could sacrifice the baby. Because if she gives up the baby willingly, she'd have more energy to pull out. And there's no discussion on this one. Both Zan and John are like, no.
No, we can't ask Moya to do that. No, we're not going to do that.
I'm like, guys, don't want to be rude, but death or not would probably still be the better solution.
I guess so,
otherwise
but
the kid also dies.
Yeah, I think Pilot does actually point that out. Either way, the kid dies basically.
Yeah.
Either they stay and all die, or they sacrifice the baby. The problem with that is that they don't know that that's going to work. That's not. It's a very long shot. It
might achieve nothing, and that's why they're like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, because God, it would be awful if if they do that, it doesn't work, and then they find a way out. It's like, well, that was for nothing.
Yeah.
But then the mysterious energy creature appears again, large hole opening, and Zan gets ready to shoot, and John's like, wait, because he's noticed that the scratch marks are all in groups of primes.
Yeah, they're prime numbers.
There's 3, 7, 11, all that stuff. So Crichton's like, wait, this is trying to communicate. This is textbook, first contact kind of thing, sequence of primes, stuff that all species understand. But Moya and Pilot are very scared, and they're like,
please shoot. Moya is scared.
Shoot her.
But Moya's scared. Please shoot him. Like, Moya being scared is not enough reason to kill something. I'm very sorry. If she's hurt, that's a good reason to.
I mean, they both think that... I mean, as far as I know, the thing's been coming after them, so...
True.
But John's like, no, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And he pops his head into the opening hole. The glowing hole. Like,
and we get
whoop.
a shot of... I'm sorry, these are just really corny, bad effects. I didn't like this at all.
Because John goes in and there's a big white light, there's just whiteness around him, and his face there's not just a double exposure, there's like 4 or 5 different exposures of Crichton's face, all of different sizes sort of around him.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not a great effect. I also kind of wasn't strictly necessary, but anyway.
No. I didn't like this one at all.
Yeah, those effects were not great. And we do see that there is an alien inside, which is we see parts of. We don't see the whole thing. There are like tentacles and close-up of like mottled purple, blue skin and lumpy bit. Like it's clearly like a very alien, a non-human alien.
It's not. It's very non-humanoid.
Yeah. And so John was right that trying to communicate. And is talking to the alien. The creature says, you've breached our realm, and so it's clearly something that lives on the other side of Starburst, in another dimension, basically.
And John's like, "Oops, sorry,
didn't mean to do that."
We're trying to look. We're trying to back out. We're trying to solve this. And it's like, yeah, if you do that, you'll tear the hole open even further and irreparably damage the divide between realities. So. I'm kind of the gatekeeper. I'm supposed to destroy anything that causes these effects. And it's like, please don't.
Well, because the creature says that this has never actually happened with living matter before. It must have happened before with things like energy or non-living matter, mechanical things, possibly like the Nabari.
I'm surprised because didn't 4 whole planets get sucked in?
Well, they didn't get sucked in. That was like the blast back from the thing going wrong.
Oh, that was probably this alien closing it.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
That gives a bit of a bang on the other end.
Exactly. That's what they're saying. Like, if you rupture the link between the realities, then that's what happens. Big bang. Everything goes boom. Everybody dies. Sure. But what we can do is you have to go forwards, and I will try and guide you through and out the other side.
Yeah, to your side. You can't come to my side because you can't exist there. Like your molecule, your reality doesn't work there. Not the way you experience it. Yeah.
So it will try and guide them back to real space, basically.
Yes, where they came from.
And so John pops back out of the hole, and Pilot and Zan, as far as they're concerned, he went in and straight back out.
Yeah.
But he said, no, I had this whole conversation. We have to go forwards. We have to actually go through. We have to go through the energy reality
thing. We need to Starbus forward. And Pilot's like, yeah, not going to happen. That's not what we're going to do. And
he's like, no, trust me on this. This is our only way out of here. And so, okay, all you have to do is reverse the last 4 controls in the sequence that I gave you before. You've got 5, and Crichton says, right, 500 microts, and then go. Then Crichton actually just starts counting down.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, okay, 500, 499, 498.
Yep.
So they're on a timer here, so he's running towards Red Moya, hops in there, and there's actually a sequence where he's running along the corridor, and it's a kind of slow-mo. We talked about it, I think it was the last episode.
I think it was the last one or the one before that, where... no, it's the one before that.
Yeah, it was in Durka Returns, there was the weird slow-mo running in the corridors that didn't serve any purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I think it actually is fine. Like, it does serve a purpose of, like, no, we have... It's kind of dramatic tension of, like, no, we have to get there.
Slow motion works really well when you want to point out that every second counts.
Yes, absolutely. And so, yeah, here it works.
Yes. And he gets to Pilot's room. Dargo's still there, and it's like, well, it didn't work. And he's like, yeah, no, you need to go forward. Reverse the last 4 commands. Dargo's like, excuse me, that's suicide?
It's like, no, okay, just do it. And you have 300 microns. It's like, I don't have a stopwatch or like a clock or anything. So it's like, and this is great. Like John's like, okay, you just count like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, like that. And
okay, and John walks out not before puking again in the room,
which really upsets Darko. Like,
and Darko then's like, okay, fine, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi.
So good.
So I mean, it works.
It works. Yeah, there you go. And he goes back to Blue Moya, and then he's running through the corridors of Blue Moya again with the similar kind of slow-mo effect. He also cuts to shots of his boots, pounding on the ground. Again, doing the whole, every second counts, that kind of thing. And
gets into trouble because more parts of Moya are being absorbed into the light, so he can't go through certain corridors. I mean,
I'm a little disappointed in John that it took him that long to figure out to just put the headset on.
Yeah, like he doesn't have to in this one. He put the headset on and just talk to Aaron over the comm.
Yeah, like you don't have to try and get to the same. Like you can save a lot of time. You just put it on straight away. Anyway, he puts the headset on. It's like, right, you need to go forwards, and she's like, right, I know what to do. You got 150 microts.
And they have a brief conversation, and it's like, and he says like, you have 150 microns. She's like, 130 right now. She can apparently count in her head just fine.
Yeah.
But there's a few things I actually like about this part. For one, Aaron immediately trusts him. Yep. She's like, there's no doubt in her mind. Like, if you say that this needs to happen, then we just do this. Mm-hmm. And two, I like that as he runs to the exit, she's like, good luck, and he responds with, you too, babe. It's a bit corny, but I do like that.
There's also a part in this scene where he's like,
as he goes over the comm, she's not in the pilot's chamber, and she's like, he asks, where are you? I was trying to find an exit because I didn't know if you're coming back.
Yeah, don't know if you're coming back. And he says, no, I'd never leave you.
Yeah, I like her smile at that.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, there it is. There's that little...
Finally, can we now please keep going with this?
I mean, they are. Like, we saw in a Human Reaction that really started to develop their relationship even more. True. And so, yeah, this seems to actually be a thing that is... it's going to keep going.
Because after the Flax, it didn't seem like they were sticking with this until a Human Reaction. That's when, like, okay, now we're actually accepting that it is a real thing.
That's because the episode immediately after the Flax was Jeremiah Crichton.
Right.
Which didn't acknowledge a lot of things that actually happened.
True. They were on the break for 3 months. That probably doesn't help.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, you could have said 3 weeks, but let's be honest.
That episode...
Yeah.
So dumb. Anyway, not to spend more time ragging on that episode. We did a whole podcast about that.
Yeah, we're done. We should
go listen to that again if you like. But anyway, so he's explained what he has to do. He's explained what Aaron has to do. So right, back to Yellow Moya. Let's try and.
He actually takes a different exit this time.
Yeah, because the route he was taking before has been cut off by the white light that's absorbing the ship, so he has to listen out for the sound and try and find another way to Yellow Moya, which he does. It's through like an access shaft or an access panel.
Yes.
But he manages to get there. I actually like that this time he's like, right, I'll do this part myself.
Yeah, because like he doesn't have that much time. He's like, as he comes into Yellow, he has like 50 seconds left.
Yeah.
So he runs to pilot's chamber and it's like, okay, you two get out of my way, and just starts doing some controls. And he pushes one down, and everything starts shaking. And I like, he's like, "Oh, we're screwed." And Rachel just pops underneath him. So between his arms is like, "Should I disrope?" Like, God damn it, Rachel.
Yeah.
Should I disrope for dramatic effect? No.
Basically.
I like Chiana being like, "Yes."
And so yeah, they've got it all working. They hit the button, and there's this big shaking. And all the Moyas converge, and because everyone is all in pilot's chamber, they all end up in regular Moya, which, all the other versions have come back together, and they all end up sprawled over pilot's console next to each other, with Pilot there, and they all just start laughing
Pilot doesn't get the joke. He does not understand why they're finding this so amusing.
I think Pilot, when he does that, he's kind of being a little bit like dry. So I kind of I failed to see the source of the amusement, and then he does have like a kind of a smile on his face.
I caught it as well. A beautiful shot, by the way.
I love this so much. Okay,
this is like there's the whole crew there. They zoom out on Pilot's console. There's the whole crew together in one shot, including Pilot, Rigel, all the actors, and it's just like, mwah.
So good. This is actually the first time we've ever had a shot of, I think, all of them together, including Pilot.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
And they're all laughing and, you know, happy that they survived, and it just really cements like they are a family. And
yes,
friends.
And that goes on to the next scene.
I love
where they're now eating again and they're having fun. They're telling stories.
I love this ending so much. It's
I mean, there's a lot of things I don't like about this episode, but I love the ending. Like, really love the ending.
Yeah, and the whole banter between all of them is really just really good,
so
and
good.
It's really entertaining, and just it's so good to see them all be happy together.
Yeah,
including Chiana, who's she's new here, but she seems to be, you know, having fun with the rest of them.
I like how she and Zan are trading stories where it's pretty clear that they're both talking about their kind of bad pasts.
Okay, so there's a line here that I love, because Chiana's like, and then I told them to, you know, get going, and we kicked the crap out of them. She's like, yeah, don't suppose you've ever done anything like that. And
no, I like. I don't know if I should be telling you
this, right? Yeah, and then and Zan's like, my dear, I've kicked more ass than you've sat on. That's a brilliant line. I love that.
I love that so much.
Great line. And Dargo's like, and then, you know, I told her this, and it's like,
just like, no, you didn't.
You didn't. Did that work? Like, no, the girl like chucked me out.
The girl ran away screaming. I almost got arrested.
And they're sort of eating the food again that they've made themselves, and it's like, this food's great, apart from these things. And John's like, oh yeah, those are Grandma Crichton's butter biscuits or something. Yeah, and it's like, what's in them? It's like flour, buttermilk, salt, honey. It's like, but we don't have any of those things. Yeah, that's probably why they're terrible. that's the problem.
They'll chuck those things at his face.
It's just a really, actually good, like, happy ending, really.
Series rarely do these scenes, which is a bummer.
I'll be honest, like, it would lose its impact if it happened all the time. And Farscape really isn't the kind of show, so far that we've seen anyway, that does like the everybody laughs happy ending all the time. But it's nice to have it this once.
Yes, I agree.
Particularly because, like, we're still in season 1. We're coming towards the end of it. We're sort of on the, you know, the home stretch now.
I think we have 5 more to go after this.
Yeah, and so they've all been coming together as a crew, and so this is like the shot, or like the scene where we see that kind of happen.
Mm-hmm. Also at the end, there's like, because actually, Pilot comes over the comm and he says, I'm glad you're all having fun. I don't really get why.
I'm glad you're all enjoying yourselves.
Look, we were extremely affected by this. We're starting to realize that we actually like each other.
Yeah.
That's not what they say, but that's the subtext of it.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
And Pilot's like, I actually have news about the baby. And they're all like, oh shit, no.
Yeah, the first reaction is just like, is everything okay? Did something happen?
And they're like, no, it's good, actually. Better. It's kind of time. And they're like, wait, we're having a baby? Yeah, I mean,
we're having a baby!
Yeah. So it's that Pilot points out, not right now, but the gestation cycle of Leviathans is apparently not that exact. Could be longer, could be shorter. But he's like, it's coming. Moya knows it's coming soon. It's not that far off anymore.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And they're all obviously very pleased by this. And Rigel said, like, oh, well, feel free to name it after me. And Chiana's like, only if it's a runt. It's like, hey, how
And I like that John's like, okay, a toast to Moya's baby. And this Jargo takes the glass from his hand. Thank you. Because he doesn't know what a toast is. He just thinks that John was handing him a glass.
But I do like what John says, is like, this is definitely one of the good days.
Yes.
Yeah, and
That's where the episode ends.
that's where we leave it. So we end on a really good note.
Yeah.
What do we think? Overall, I really enjoyed this episode.
I did as well.
I know you didn't like the parts with the double exposure effect in
No,
Red
that
Moya.
actually weighed a large part of for what I think about it, because being physically uncomfortable while watching an episode, that's a new one for me, and I don't like it.
Yeah, so for me, like it didn't make me nauseous. I didn't actually feel ill from that. So that's probably why. I guess it will affect people differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's probably why I didn't mark it down because of that. So, but I can totally understand. Like, if that makes you feel sick, that's not good. That's bad.
I'm trying to think.
I mean, they could have. I think if they could have done the same effect, but with less of a delay, because there was actually a significant delay in the exposures. There was like they would move, and it would be like another couple of seconds before like the second exposure would move.
Yeah, it
line
was
up with
really.
I think if they had shortened the time so that it was like much closer together, it probably wouldn't have been so nausea-inducing. And it's kind of a bottle episode in that.
Good bottle episodes can happen.
Oh yeah, but I mean, there's not inherently anything wrong with a bottle episode if you do it right, and because we don't have anything else other than Moya. I mean, we have the creature, the weird extra-dimensional creature, but it's all set on Moya. Maybe 3 different versions of Moya, but there
Still
you go.
Moya.
Yeah, but that actually is fine. Like there's a lot they do, and with all the characters, which is a great thing to see, and just the shot. The part with John comforting Pilot and the shots of everyone sitting together on Pilot's in Pilot's den, and the bits in Yellow Moya are just like those are the standout parts of the episode.
I think I'm gonna have to give it a 4 out of 5. A low 4 because of the nauseating part.
That's totally fine.
It was either a high 3 or a low 4, and I'm gonna have to go with a very low 4, like just on the cusp. Because that nauseating bit just this is the first time I've really been uncomfortable by editing.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. Like, I would probably agree with you then on that. Like, if I was just doing this in a vacuum without realizing that it had affected other people that way, I probably would have bumped up to like a high 4, possibly a 5.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's not a 5.
But it's probably not. I don't know. I probably would have gone with a high 4. Almost there at like a 5.
I mean, there should have been a bit more character development, I think, in there for to be a high 4, 5.
That's fair,
near a 5 for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's a solid episode, but there's nothing outstanding in it.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know. I might disagree. I think the ending part is the outstanding part for me, but I will go with a 4. The other thing is that it's very tight. It all comes together like very quickly. There's a bit of setup, and then once it starts moving, it moves at a quick pace. It feels like things get wrapped up pretty quick and they're not drawn out, which is good.
That is very true. I like that about it.
Yeah,
that's probably what it puts it up to a 4 for me.
So 4 out of 5, another good one. And like we said, we've got 5 episodes to go. So far, the only episode I think we've really disliked has been Jeremiah Crichton.
Yeah, and I wasn't that big a fan of human reaction, but that was only a 3.
A human reaction was fine, but there was some.
Yeah.
A human reaction was very much fine with a couple of really good bits.
Yes.
This was kind of like overall really good with a couple of things that detract from it.
Yeah, I think that's the best way of describing it.
By the way, I want to hear some fun facts about this episode.
Always.
So, Through the Looking Glass, this was originally pitched by David Kemper, who wrote the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But he originally wrote it as an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and they would come across the derelict ship, a away team finds empty, there's a creature on board. Anyway, the idea went through many, many rewrites before it became this episode. And that's partly why I was... reading that, I was thinking, like, how would this have been different as a Trek episode? Like, obviously it went through many rewrites before it got here, but... Like, I think I mentioned, like, the Trek episode probably version of this would have been like, okay, technobabble, this modulating EM field with this frequency will It's like, okay, that's sure. That would have been like a very kind of bog standard TNG episode. As a Farscape episode.
I'd have to see how good the yellow dimension would have been for them, because I think Farscape does it better.
I can just imagine like Data being in the yellow version, just like deadpanned. So it's like, what is so humorous? I don't understand.
Okay, that's actually pretty good.
And yeah, but also this episode is really the first time we've only met Chiana a couple of episodes ago, but this is the first time we've seen her really interact with Rigel when she's not trying to escape from Moya.
Yeah,
and some of the rest of the crew as well. So,
and also, I also like it because this is the first time they actually were able to write her into the episode.
Yep. And yeah, and apparently this episode was actually also kind of difficult to produce. Like, this is why it's near the end, because they had problems conceptualizing it, and how to figure out how to make the multiple dimensions different from each other, what the creature was going to look like. But there you go. Like, but this was overall a pretty good one, I feel. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so there you go, Through the Looking Glass. So let's see what's up next. Episode 18, A Bug's Life it's called. That's what we'll be doing next week.
Okay.
And
is this the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids episode?
I don't think so. So here's the synopsis, or brief summary. When a group of peacekeepers from a damaged marauder board Moya, the crew pretend to be a peacekeeper prison vessel. And the peacekeeper's secret cargo presents a serious threat when Rigel and Chiana open the container. More peacekeepers. They've not been around for a while, so...
Yeah, we haven't seen them for a while.
I mean, Durka kind of counts, but, like... Sort of. So that's what's up next week. And, yeah, we'll be back for that. But thank you for listening to this episode. And, as usual, you can find us both on social media. You can find me at Twitter, at CantWearHats, and Red is at Vidalkin and Tree.
Yes.
And we have archives of this and other stuff on youtube.com/CantWearHats. And this podcast and my other projects are supported by you from the CantWearHats Patreon. That is patreon.com/CantWearHats. And yeah, this is all brought to you by the generous support of patrons. So, awesome.
Yeah.
But that's it from us this week, and we'll be back next week, like I said, with A Bug's Life. So, we'll see you then. Goodbye! Bye! So that version of Moya with the nausea and the double exposure, would you call that a red nightmare?
I hate you so much right now. Screw this. I'm buying a plane ticket. I'm coming over there. I'm gonna kick you in the nuts.
I've kicked more nuts than you've sat on.
I don't care. I'm already leaving.
Damn it!